Iran state media and also a Pakistani source say that direct three-way ceasefire talks between Iran, the US and Pakistan have now begun in Islamabad. The stated aim, shoring up a fragile ceasefire and paving the way for a permanent end to the fighting in the Middle East. Talks, of course, face a number of major hurdles, including the ongoing exchanges of fire between Israel and Hezbollah militants in southern Lebanon and also Iran's plans for the Strait of Hormuz, still effectively shut to global shipping. In Tehran, meanwhile, many doubt the US is entering these negotiations in good faith. Let's take a listen.
The other side, America, can't be trusted at all. Even if we get concrete and final results, there's still a chance that the deal falls through. International laws are superior to deals and agreements, and the U.S. government has frequently violated those laws. Not just in war with us, but everywhere.
I support the talks because the war up to this point was enough. Both sides realized they weren't getting anywhere through war. With so much destruction and killing, nothing would have been left for the people in the end. So it's better to make peace and get along.
Well, for more, I'm joined now in the studio by France 24's Andrew Hilliar from our International Affairs desk. Hi, Andrew. Is there any chance of the US and Iran bridging their differences today in Islamabad?
Well, actually, there are some major sticking points, and let's just bring those sticking points up on your screen and walk our viewers through them, beginning with the Strait of Hormuz. Indeed, Iran wants to institutionalize its leverage over that waterway after it essentially discovered that it can hold the world economy to ransom. And on that note, in the last few hours, we have been hearing from US President Donald Trump, who says that the US is clearing the Strait of Hormuz. However, US media, Axios, is reporting that US ships crossed the Strait of Hormuz in what was called a freedom of navigation operation. And now we're also hearing these reports from Iran. This Iranian state TV quoting a senior military official as saying that US ships turned back. A US ship turned back after it had been warned by Iran's military. So some conflicting reports coming out of the Strait of Hormuz today. Other sticking points, the nuclear program and uranium enrichment. Of course, Iran wants to continue to be able to do that. The US has ruled that out. And of course, Iran's ballistic missile program and support for regional proxies, essentially what is Iran's security deterrence. These are all major sticking points. Also worth pointing out, Haxi, that even before these talks began, Iran demanded concessions to get them started, including the release of billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets. There are conflicting reports about whether or not that happened. And also a ceasefire in Lebanon. Now, that hasn't happened either. However, according to various reports, these three-way face-to-face talks are underway in Pakistan. One final point, Haxi. What's significant is that even before this war, two of those sticking points, the nuclear program and Iran's missile arsenal, for example, those were seen as intractable issues. Now what you have is the Strait of Hormuz, which has been thrown into the mix, essentially overshadowing those two other issues and giving Iran a lot of leverage.
Andrew, tell us more now about the two men leading the US and the Iranian delegations, and why do we think they've been picked for this job?
Okay, well, let's start with the US delegation. J.D. Vance, US Vice President, leading that delegation in what will be the highest level talks since the 1979 revolution between the two sides. So that in itself is history being made. Now, J.D. Vance has been against this war since the beginning, and now he's been dispatched to resolve a war that he never agreed with. There are reports, actually, that Iran pushed for his inclusion. They are deeply mistrustful of Steve Witkoff, a former real estate developer, and Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law. The Iranians see them as being too pro-Israel, and they think that those two men have no real understanding of the complex dossiers underpinning these talks. Now, J.D. Vance and the US delegation facing off against a very experienced Iranian delegation as well, emboldened by their stranglehold over the Strait of Hormuz. Let's take a look at that delegation. Here you can see it, a large delegation, a projection of unity, led by, at the head, Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, Iranian parliament speaker, a man who has become a pivot for the Iranian regime. He commands respect across the political and security spheres thrust into the role after US and Israeli airstrikes wiped out other key regime figures, Haxi. Now, Iranian officials have been quoted as saying that the delegation in Pakistan do not need to consult with Tehran to take key decisions, given the critical nature of these talks. So that and the large delegation really gives you an idea of just how serious Iran is taking this. So that's who's in, but also worth mentioning who's out. Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, Iranian president, effectively sidelined in this entire process. And that is one of the consequences of this war, Haxi, the sidelining of moderate figures like Masoud Pezeshkian.
Andrew Hilliar, thank you very much.